minutes left, Julia. 3 minutes.
Okay. Okay. New York is see the connection between the urban viability, internal viability, and green viability, and Barcelona between sliding and local road. For negative aspect, this case see the negative aspect, and all case study analyze allow to think about the connection between the historical city and the waterfront. The project proposal, which include the coastal area from Piazza Matteotti and Via Ferrara, and quickly. The first project is a pedestrian and vehicular flower in Piazza Matteotti. The second project is a pedestrian and vehicular flower in Via Roma. And the first project is the connection between Viale Diaz and Viale Colombo. The 5 to 7 project is a connection between parts that today are completely disconnected from each others. And in conclusion, the analysis served to understand how in the case study of coastal city, the relationship between road, city, and waterfront must be the basis of the redevelopment. And thank you. Sorry, but okay. Anastasia. Scollegata.
Your microphone is mute.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chiara. Thank you, Julia. Questions from the audience?
I have only one more consideration.
Yes.
Only one really quickly. Generally, it's a cultural problem, because we studied that in many European cities and also non-European cities, the underpasses works, but it's really difficult to transform street in underpasses to connect two different pieces of the cities of the city in general. And it's only a cultural problem to accept this kind of transformation of modification of the city. And,
I agree with you, and if you see it in a large city, as the examples that you have shown, okay, but if you do it in a in an island area, in a much smaller scale, the cities are in these places. Well, it's not. It doesn't fit. I mean, it's out of the. Let's say the feeling that I have a close contact with the sea. I can walk next to the sea. You have to go other ways to somehow to establish close links to the marine environment. And I find the way you approached very interesting. Are there any other questions?
No, there isn't. Here, I don't know, in the chat.
Okay, I think all people there are Sardinians, so they are very well aware maybe of the project. Okay, if there are no questions, then we can go to our second presentation, Circular Economy Strategy in the Construction Sector, the use of recycled aggregates in the Sardinian island. Flavio, you have the floor. Please share your presentation, and you may start.
Thank you very much, Professor, for the presentation. So, first of all, the co-authors of this work are Luisa Pani, Lorena Francesconi, James Rombi, and Marta Salis. We all work at University of Cagliari here in Italy, and I'm glad to present this work in this very interesting conference. So, I believe that we are not looking Sorry. Now it's full screen. Okay. Oh, no problem. So, concrete is the most common construction materials, and for this reason, the deterioration of natural resources is also partially due to its use. However, concrete construction and demolition waste recycling can be used for the production of recycled concrete aggregates. Okay.
Now it's possible to
you can see me.
see, yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Finally, of course, if we use recycled aggregates made with construction and demolition waste, we can save natural resources and we can reduce landfill disposal. In the framework of the research project MESAR, funded by Regione Autonoma della Sardegna and coordinated by Professor Pani, we have tested the mechanical performance of a group of structural specimens like reinforced concrete plinths made with and without recycled concrete aggregates in order to test the mechanical differences between the use of this material and the use of natural aggregates. In this slide, on the left, we have some details of the casting of the plinths, while on the right side, you can see the wall structure. We have prepared 3 specimens with different mixed design. The first one, labeled RC0, have only natural aggregates. So in this case, we don't have any recycled aggregates, while RC30 and RC50 denotes respectively a mixed design in which we have 30% of recycled concrete aggregates and 50%. This is the replacement percentage of recycled aggregates instead of natural aggregates. Here you have the mixed design characteristics, and in the bottom table you have the aggregates characteristics. We have tested the material and we have measured the compressive and tensile strength and elastic modulus of the 3 mixes. Here you have the results, and we can see how improving the replacement percentage of recycled aggregates, we have a little lowering of the mechanical performance. Indeed, the mix labeled RC 50% has a lower compressive and tensile strength and a lower elastic modulus in comparison to the mix RC0, casted with just natural aggregates. Here you have some details of the experimental apparatus. The plinths are fixed underground, and there is an ordinary reinforced concrete column inside the plinths that is necessary to apply the load. Indeed, we applied a horizontal force on the top of the column that is transmitted to the other part of the structure. Here we have the details of the plinths with some reinforcement bars characteristics, and you have the geometrical size of the plinths that in plant are 1.4 by 1.2 meters, while the total height is about 90 centimeters. Here you have the position of the displacement transducer, that here are this blue arrow, and the position of the hydraulic jack that transmits the horizontal force on the top of the column. Here we have a video of the experiments. On the right, you can see how applying and improving the load on the column, we get an inclination and a bending deformation of the wall structure, while the collapse mechanism is described by the shooting on the left, taken from opposite side. You can see that we have a crack propagation on the bottom cantilever part of the plinths that became bigger as we increased the load till the total collapse. I can say that there is no difference in the collapse mechanism for the 3 specimens, because all of them present the same collapse system. Here we have some quantitative comparison between the 3 specimens. So we have on the vertical axis the horizontal force, on the horizontal axis the horizontal displacement taken in this point of the plinths. The black curve denotes the normal concrete plinth performance. The blue one, the LC 30% one, and the orange one, the orange curve, denote the performance of the mix with 50% of replacement percentage of recycled aggregates. The rounded dot denotes the first cracking point of free. You can see that there is not any big differences. So at the structural level, the free specimen has the same mechanical performance, while I can highlight this at the material level, we have a better mechanical performance of the normal concrete. That is not present, this cannot be seen at the structural level. Same behavior can be seen if we plot the horizontal force versus the plinth rotation. Also in this case, black curve, normal concrete, blue curve, 30% replacement percentage, and orange curve, 50% replacement percentage. Rounded dot denote first cracking, and also in this case, as you can see, the differences between the free mix are completely negligible. So finally, here you can see some more detailed picture of the damage suffered by the structure and the total lateral capacity force for the free plinth. You can see in all the cases, it is almost 100 kilonewton, without any difference, taking into account that we have a completely different replacement percentage. So once we have proved that it's possible to use recycled concrete aggregates to obtain structural specimen, we can extend this issue and try to depict a general framework for a circular economy development. As you know, we live in an island that is the typical, that is a very interesting site to test circular economy. Indeed, in particular for the construction market, where the cost of material is very low in comparison with the transportation cost. So in this case, we have studied the characteristic situation of 3 medium towns that are located in the southwestern coast of Sardinia.
Sorry, two minutes left.
Yeah, I'm finishing. Thank you.
Okay.
Named Calasetta, Portoscusa, and Carloforte. And in particular, we have developed a logical framework to analyze the urban developing plan for all the municipalities in order to determine in the second phase of the analysis what is the local demand for recycled concrete aggregates, considering new construction, refurbishment of existing building, and cycle and pedestrian path. You should take into account that these are free cities characterized by a touristic economy in which natural attraction and are very, very important. So in synthesis, you see that for new construction, it is necessary to have 2 tons of recycled concrete aggregates per square meter. That became 0.1 and 0.5 if we consider refurbishment and cycle and pedestrian path. In the bottom part of the slide, you have all the details of the calculation. So in conclusion, potential application of using recycled concrete aggregates in structural elements have good effect both on the environmental and economic aspects. Indeed, imagine if the producer of the precasted plinths could use the production scrap as recycled aggregates instead of natural aggregates, saving money and also saving the environment. We have proved experimentally that the presence of recycled aggregates as a replacement of natural ones does not yield to any reduction of the mechanical performance of the structures. Finally, we have shown a little analysis about the possible recycled concrete aggregates demands of 3 towns in Sardinia, and we have calculated what is the amount of recycled aggregates that will be needed in this area. I would like to highlight that this material is already available in the landfill disposal. And in order to use it, it is just necessary to coordinate the urban planning action with the landfill disposal action. I thank you very much for your attention, and that's all. If you have any question, I'm happy to discuss with you. I'm on time, Professor.
Yes, you are. Thank you very much. Thank you for the nice presentation. The critical dimension, especially for island regions marked by resource scarcity, so it's very important to be able to use this kind of material in the construction sector. So any questions from the audience, please?
I have just a consideration, if I can.
Yes.
So, have I have to move?
No, just a consideration. I think that study methodology to recycle the materials is really, really important for the insular context. Also because in this way, yes, we can speak about circular economy. So congratulations for your work. Also because your specific field is
structures.
So yeah, so there is the multidisciplinarity of the session.
Yeah, thank you, Chiara. You let me answer with this consideration. As I was trying to express, it's very difficult for me knowing where to watch, because I don't know exactly. Maybe this is the camera. Okay. So I was highlighting that for concrete, the cost of materials is very, very low. And the transportation cost has a big impact on the total cost. We can speak also about 80%, 70% of the cost. So if we can find, for example, an existing building that should be demolished near a new construction site, we can save a lot of resources using the construction and demolition waste coming from this building that will be demolished, instead of using natural aggregates. And in Cagliari, we have a great example of this, for example, for the new football stadium that will be built on the same site of the existing stadium. And the foundation of this new structure will be realized with the recycled concrete aggregates coming from the old stadium. And so this is another good example of circular economy and, how can I say, utilization of waste as a new resource.
If I am allowed to continue the question, if you don't use them in that way, what are you doing with this kind of material? I mean, how is it handled by the municipality? And a second one, what you described, if I am building a house somewhere and next to that is one that is demolished, then but this is by chance. It happened that next to me. Isn't there any other organized way to establish this bridge between the one which is demolishing and another one that is built up? So, you know, a more structured way to be sure that you can use this this waste.
So thank you very much for the question. At the moment, the biggest problem is about the demolition phase, because in order to differentiate the waste, in order to have just concrete and not steel, concrete and brick together, we have to spend money. So at the moment, people have not big economic convenience to do this, can I say, differentiated demolition. So I can say to you, if we can calculate what is the demand of recycled aggregates of a zone, as we have done, we can say to market holders, stakeholders like construction company, look, if you use recycled aggregates, you will have benefit because you will pay lower taxes, and so consider to differentiate demolition, then them to the landfill, and once you are going to build your house, for example, in that zone, we can take the recycled aggregates from that landfill. Because at the moment, I repeat, there is not general coordination. So the case of the stadium was very, very convenient because it's a big structure exactly in the same location. The only way to get organized, as I was telling, is to forecast what will be the demand of recycled aggregates and organize the demolition on that zone to obtain the amount required by the calculation.
Mhm.
And this is a political issue, you know. I'm just a structural engineer.
Yeah, okay. You do your own job. Okay. Okay, maybe we can get some answers from the next presentation. Just let me wear my glasses. On local supply chains and circular economy for building materials that are the results of the PLES project in Sardinia. So I invite Giovanna. Please, Giovanna, share your presentation and the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Just a moment. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we see it.
Just a moment. Okay. Is it on full screen? Do you see it full screen as full screen?
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to talk about the PLES project, which carried out a feasibility assessment of a local supply chain startup to produce building materials and eco-sustainable construction systems in Sardinia Island. And I'd like to start by highlighting the impact of the construction sector on the environment. This sector currently is globally responsible on average for over 35% of the consumption of raw materials, soil, water, and energy, and for over 30% of pollution and production of waste. Moreover, it should be emphasized that all new buildings built in Italy will soon have to be nearly zero energy buildings, that is, buildings with almost zero energy needs. So, in this context, the sustainability of building materials is of fundamental importance, and local supply chains take on a strategic role. In fact, the reduction of the environmental impact of a green building can be achieved with various strategies, of course, including the more widespread use of eco-sustainable materials locally produced. And the resort to local short supply chains to produce building materials is particularly appropriate in a context of isolated economies, as Flavio highlighted, such as those existing in islands regions like Sardinia. And it is worth noting that many European islands are small isolated systems and have small markets, so they are more vulnerable to the effects of the anthropic impact, and they must produce a considerable effort to implement strategies to reverse this situation. Therefore, it is essential that islands manage their resources in a sustainable way to become increasingly efficient, self-sufficient, and to protect their environment. Indeed, the insularity could become an opportunity, could be seen as an opportunity to implement self-sufficiency paths in the production and management of resources to make the economy more sustainable. The PLES project fits into this context. PLES stands for, in Italian, Prodotti Locali per l'Edilizia Sostenibile, in English, Local Products for Sustainable Buildings, and it is a project funded by the local authority, Sardinia Ricerche, and it is based on the synergy between a multidisciplinary research group of Cagliari University and a group of local companies involved in various business sectors. The PLES project fits into the general context of the bioeconomy and the circular economy, and in the specific context of sustainable buildings. The motivation of the project. The motivation is the need or the opportunity to develop production processes based on the logic of the short supply chain, the circularity and the eco-balance, using eco-friendly, recyclable and locally available and energy-efficient construction materials. And this need derives from various considerations, such as the need to renovate the construction sector, that is in deep crisis, the condition of Sardinia's insularity, which requires self-sufficiency in terms of production and management of resources, and the obligation to contain the impacts related to the construction sector. So the general objective of the PLES project was the development of constructive solutions for walls and floors, consisting of multi-layered packages that use sustainable materials, mainly of natural origin and locally available. The multi-layer package is made up as follows. The load-bearing element consists of innovative cross-laminated timber panels made of Sardinian timber, Sardinian maritime pine, or of traditional clay bricks or concrete block masonry. The insulating element consists of cork or sheep's wool or innovative earth-based products, and the finishing elements consist of innovative textile. Sorry, I can see. Okay, consist of innovative textile handicraft products or plasters of natural origin. I'd like to stress that all these materials, all the materials selected to make the multi-layer packages are produced locally in Sardinia. And also I'd like to underline that some of them are completely innovative. The PLES project was developed through a series of activities you can see in this slide, and I will illustrate in detail in the next slide. The first was the analysis of the production processes, followed by the mechanical and energetic characterization of the materials involved, then the implementation of models for numerical simulation, and finally the laboratory test on manufacturer prototypes of the multi-layer packages. So the starting point of the project consisted in the analysis of the production processes related to the materials and the construction systems considered. This analysis was run with reference to the life cycle assessment model and made it possible to highlight the consumption of energy, the primary and secondary resources, and the emissions and production of non-recyclable waste. The impacts were assessed in terms of both economic, environmental, and social sustainability, and the main aspects associated with both the production and the marketing of the individual products were highlighted. This phase allowed, on the one hand, to highlight the main critical issues associated with the various production processes and to indicate possible solutions. On the other hand, to propose the development of new materials or new production processes, and to the optimization of the already existing one. The second step consisted in an activity of experimental tests carried out on the basic materials and on the components of the multi-layer packages for their physical, mechanical, and thermoacoustic characterization. The test carried out on completely innovative or handcraft products, such as the Sardinian cross-laminated timber, the earth-based panel, and the natural plasters, were of paramount importance, as these materials are not yet equipped with technical data sheets that allow their marketing and use in construction. The project also involved the implementation of numerical models to simulate the performance of the multi-layer packages and of the single constituent layers. And this activity mainly consisted in the development and the implementation by means of calculation codes and commercial software of numerical models for the simulation of the mechanical and thermoacoustic behavior and the calibration according to the experimental results. Finally, the last experimental activity carried out within the project involved the manufacturing of some prototypes of the multi-layer panels. And here you can see some prototypes. They are not on full scale, but you can see the natural materials joined together to make the stratigraphy, a possible stratigraphy in this case for a wall. Okay, the mechanical and energetic properties of the tested materials and construction systems testing during this last step of the project were also collected and implemented according to the procedures provided for compatibility with the Building Information Modeling Protocol. And through this coding, a database was created with the aim of promoting the marketing of the local products and their use by designers and customers.
2 minutes left.
Yes, thank you. Here are the results. The main results achieved by the PLES project are listed in these slides. So from a general point of view, the boost to the development of the Sardinian wood supply chain for structural use, all the timber used in Sardinia is now important from abroad. Then the support for the diversification of the production and destination of traditional materials, such as sheep's wool, raw earth, and cork. The impulse to the development of the production sector of derivatives from vegetable fibers and of fabrics to be used in the construction sector. The increased competitiveness and innovativeness of the artisan enterprises potentially interested, the development of new production processes, and the optimization of the existing production processes, also through the application of innovative tools and technologies. From a technical, practical point of view, the project has made it possible to determine the mechanical performance of Sardinian maritime pine cross-laminated timber panels, and consequently to implement technical data sheets containing their mechanical properties, which can be used to encourage the production and the use of this new material, and to design and manufacture some prototypes of stratigraphy based on natural, local, and innovative materials, to study their mechanical and thermoacoustic behavior, and to prepare the relative technical data sheets. All the activities, the contents, the results, and the products of the PLES project have been implemented on a freely accessible dedicated website to provide a solid basis for the implementation in Sardinia of local supply chains for the production of eco-sustainable building materials. In conclusion, the PLES project has represented the spark that ignited the start of a broader and more in-depth research to study modular vertical and horizontal closure systems for buildings, combining sustainable materials, mainly of natural origin and locally available. In addition, the project has taken a scientific approach to the intelligent and convenient use of local materials, both prime and resulting from primary processes, encouraging virtuous circular economy activities and enhancing regional material and human resources. The project allowed the research group to define multi-layer modules that showed very interesting results concerning load-bearing capacity and physical performance, and the team is now continuing the research with the intention to define certified prototypes to be launched into the sustainable building markets. And thank you very much for your attention.
We thank you very much, Giovanna. And we come to questions. Are there any questions from the audience, please?
Yes, I don't know if I can say.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, congratulations, Giovanna, for the nice project. I knew the development, and it is very nice to see how it ends. I would like to state that how it's important for us in Sardinia to push on the discovery of all the new construction materials like maritime pine. And I would ask you if you could state how is it sustainable to grow maritime pine from the economical point of view. So, is it possible to have new forest, to have new pine, and to build construction using this material?
Can I continue this question? Because I saw in the key conclusions you presented, one of them was a boost of the Sardinian wood supply for structural use. And I was wondering, is there any kind of balance between the cost and the benefit of getting all this wood from forests? Maybe the benefits from the one side and the let's say the disadvantages of destroying forests, how this is balanced somehow. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Flavio. Thank you, Professor Anastasia. I would like to start underline that all the timber that we are now using in Sardinia is imported from abroad, and this occurs despite Sardinia has about the 30% of forest. Okay, the 30% of Sardinian territory is made of forest. there is, of course, a problem of sustainability, of using this forest and of using Sardinian maritime pine and also other species. And the big problem is that our public administration, so the municipalities and the agency that manage the forestry areas are not equipped, I can say, to manage the forest from the economic point of view. So they just tend to conservation, okay, of the forest. I think, to my opinion, the use of Sardinian pine and also of other species is sustainable, but we need a change in our mentality, in our ideas, because we need to think that forest can be managed in terms of business, of course, without in this way getting a depletion of the resource. Absolutely, this is not a problem. So I hope I answer your questions both. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giovanna. Thank you.
Thank you, Flavio. Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations
to Mesa project.
Any other question? I don't see anyone. Yes? Okay. So if there is no other question, then we can proceed to our last presentation. It's about another very important issue in urban environments. It's about urban accessibility to proximity healthcare facilities for the elderly. I will listen with high interest this presentation, a time-based 2SFCH methodology applied in the case study of Nice. Please, Carmen and Gerardo, you have the floor.
Okay, just a second. We try to open. No? Okay, we use this other version of our presentation.
Okay.
You see?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, because our presentation is not in the topic. Our presentation is not in line with the previous presentation, but we have a problem to stay in Cagliari in next day. So Julia helped us to participate to the conference. We are Gerardo Carpientieri and Carmen Guida. We present you a part of our research on the urban accessibility for elderly people. The result that we present today are a part of a joint collaboration between our university, in particular the Laboratory of Land Use Mobility Environment of University of Naples, and the Laboratory of Study of Structure, Adaptation, Process and Change in Space of Université Côte d'Azur. Our research is to develop a GIS-based method to evaluate the spatial and temporal accessibility for elderly people to support the policymaker. The presentation is divided in 5 different parts. Following Carmen, present you the research problem and scientific background.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'll talk about the main problem, which is the base of our research. The ultimate aim of our research is to improve quality of life of elderly people in urban environments. Since both the aging of people as well as the increase of people living in urban areas can be considered the two phenomena connected to the human development in the world. This is some of the projection made by the World Population Prospect by the end of the century. The usual pyramid demographic chart actually is going to become a box-shaped diagram, which means that older people will outnumber younger people. The World Organization defined for the 2020-2030 period the decade of healthy aging, because elderly people today are healthier than people in previous generation, but at the same time, people suffer of a limited participation in social life due to two main elements: health on one side, and on the other side, the urban environment, so physical environment. So one of the aim of the decade of healthy aging is to promote age-friendly environments. And assuring spatial and temporal accessibility to physical environments, to urban services, and good social participation is the key to build and also adapt age-friendly cities and limit inequalities and also ageism. Talking about accessibility for urban environments actually may seem a paradox, because cities were born to provide services and activities for a heterogeneous group of people. But today, talking about accessibility for cities is not a paradox anymore, due to social, economic, infrastructural crises that make the paradox actually only apparent. Of course, the accessibility we refer to is not a place-based accessibility that just concerns transport and mobility matters, but takes into account the urban system as a whole, so considering services and activities as well as personal and individual capabilities. These are some of the main definitions of the paradigm of accessibility. We try to study also accessibility measures, as a literature review is convinced that including accessibility measures in urban planning cycle may be a good opportunity to take aware decision and also to monitor the urban transformation towards aging people. And there are four main components to measure accessibility: land use and transport system, both considering supply and demand, and also actors, so considering the individual characteristics of population as well as time. These are some of the most known measures. We studied them and divided in three main categories: so countermeasure, gravity-based measures, and utility-based measures. And these are some reflection and thoughts that we try to summarize in order to build our own methodology. One of the main traits is the significant support of GIS methods to analyze both the land use and the mobility component. On the other side, it seems that realistic vision seems to miss accessibility measures. And another important trait is the spread of gravity-based methods, both in academic and also in professional fields.
According with the scientific background and our reflection, we try to develop a new methodology based on two-step floating catchment area method, developed by UM1 in 2003. It is a gravity-based measure, and it consists of two different steps. In the first step is a ratio between supply and demand. Supply is the number of services available in a study area. Demand is the population or the user that want to access to the service. In the second step, the methodology evaluate the total accessibility, considering all service available from the origin. This is a list of the a synthetic list of some studies developed on the two-step floating catchment area last year. There are different applications for the urban scale, for the typology of service, and considering this previous study, we try to develop a new methodology, a time-based two-step floating catchment area. In particular, our proposal could be useful to consider different time slot in the evaluation, for example, different daytime. Also, another innovation that we propose that we consider the number of available services for each structure located in a study area. For example, the number of bed or number of supply. Or number of people that work in each structure. or buildings. Another innovation, we consider a decay function to consider the different capability of elderly people to work. We consider a different walking speed in the evaluation of time. In fact, the decay function is a function of time for each age category. We consider, according with the previous study, 3 age categories: the young elderly, the medium elderly, and old elderly. Our decay function are between 1 and 0. And the maximum travel time that the elderly want to spend to watch a service is more or less 30 minutes for a young elderly and 20 minutes for a old elderly. For visualizing the result, according to the previous studies of Transport for London, we propose a 10 quantile classification of accessibility.
2 minutes left, please.
Okay. We apply, according with our partnership with University of Côte d'Azur, the methodology to the city of Nice in south of France. The city is divided in 9 districts, and we consider the primary health services located in the city. There are 20 different buildings where are located the primary health services. This is the distribution of elderly people in the city of Nice, and the local authority invested in the last years to improve the quality of health system for elderly, considering they developed a specific plan to analyze the access of the elderly to primary health services. So we apply our methodology in 3-day time interval. This is morning scenario with a maximum of elderly of primary health service open, and with a maximum value of transport system. In the right of the slide, there is the result for each district in terms of number of people and the level of accessibility. This is the afternoon scenario. There are the same opened buildings, but change the transport system. And this is the last scenario, evening scenario, where there are only 3 building services available in this time interval, and there is a reduction of transport services. It's possible to see from the map that the west-north area of the city have a low value of accessibility.
In conclusion, well, we'll present you the main results of our research. One of it is the innovative features of research with integration of accessibility measures with informative tools to support policy makers in order to identify solutions to improve quality of life of elderly people, also in emergency scenario, and quantify their consequences, also in what-if scenarios. Another key feature of our research is the consideration of actual mobility capital of the elderly, both considering the walking speed, also transit, and distance decay function. The application of the methodology to the case study of Nice proved that urban planning tools may be guided, and also decision by policymakers can be guided by accessibility measures. Further steps of our research will integrate this kind of method within WebGIS, so a spatial server, in order to visualize and in real time elaborate data in order to support in real time policymakers. For further insights, here there's a book that we published last month at the end of July, which takes into account this research and other parts of this research and the application of some part of that method that we present to you today in the last version to the city of Naples and the city of Milan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carmen and Gerardo. Thank you for the nice presentation. Are there any questions from the audience?
Yes, I have just
Yes, please.
Congratulations for your presentation. It's really interesting also because thinking about these specific typologies of people means also think to all people. So think about aging people or also kids. Finally, is trying to make it the best for the city. I want only to add just one consideration. Can I, Anastasia?
Yes.
In relation to all of this topic, I, with Anastasia, with other colleagues, have different special issues. And for instance, for the inequality in general, I have special issues in cities. So if you're interested, I can give you the link and if you want to submit a paper, you are welcome. And also with Anastasia, we are always trying to propose different special issues. So stay tuned. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Any other question? No questions. Okay, then I want to thank you all for the nice presentations, and let's take a break because there is another session of smart and sustainable island communities in a quarter of an hour from now. So I hope you join us and we meet in a quarter of an hour there. Okay?
I saw Beniamino Morgante. Now,
Hi, Beniamino. Hi.
So,
hi, Anastasia. It's a pleasure to see you. I hope to meet you in person in future in short time.
Yeah, hope next year we can meet, in person.
I hope that if the situation will be solved in a short month, I'll go to Athens just to meet you.
Okay, great. Chiara, there is a small problem with the presentation. It's a bit vague and some transparencies, it becomes black. You don't see them, and then comes again next transparency of the presentation. So can we solve this problem? Is it something that you see also, or it's only me that I see?
I will try. But with which presentation?
The last one also, I missed some transparencies, and the one from you and Julia, and the second one.
Okay, we will try to transmit to put in the floor with a laptop and to speak with the other laptop.
Yeah, so, I don't know if we can do something. Would be fine. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So see you in a quarter of an hour. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ciao, Giulia. Ciao Giulia.
Guardi, professore. Chiara ha tolto tutto. Aspetti.
Vi lascio, Chiara. Ci sentiamo domani o ICCSA. Domani faccio la segreteria.
Sì, perché hanno incassato anche la segreteria della...
Ci vediamo domani mattina.
Ciao, grazie.
Ok. Chiara, ma in quanti riquadri state tu e Giulia? Non ho capito.
No, perché non funzionava quell'altro.
Siete 1, 2, 3, sempre là dentro, vi vedo in tutti i riquadri.
Così ci vede?
Sì.
Qua chiudo.
Ok,
perfetto.
Perché abbiamo avuto dei problemi.
Stamattina non funzionava uno schermo.
No, non ha funzionato YouTube stamattina e ci siamo un po' impanicati tutti quanti.
Ah, ecco. Vabbè.
Va bene, Beniamino.
Vabbè, approfitto anche per salutare.
Ecco, sì.
Ciao. Chi è Gerardo? Sento la voce.
Sono io.
Dove stai Gerardo? Non ti vedi?
Dove devo guardare?
Con loro, sempre la stessa cosa. Ok, vabbè. Ciao Gerardo.
Salve. Ok, la presentazione. Aspetta, permetto.
Allora,
no, aspetta, devo togliere questo.
Io passo in una general track di informatica, di sicurezza informatica.
Vabbè.
Lasciamo capire. mi devo concentrare perché l'argomento è ostico.
Ciao Beniamino.
Ciao, ciao.
Arrivederci, professore.
Ciao, ciao. Io sono Beniamino per tutti,
Vabbè.
Io pure a Gerardo che sta
È
là.
difficile.
Io pure a Gerardo se mi sente.
È qua, Gerardo.
Ok.
Professore, visto che c'è, adesso vede il...
Un lungomare di Cagliari.
Perfetto, ci sono riuscita.
Io vado sempre a correre quando vengo.
Perfetto.
Vado sempre a correre, approfitto.
Volevo fare un saluto al professor Mugandi.
Mi ha trovato una volta pure Lilli, tutto cenava al ristorante sotto il mio albergo, ma ha trovato tutto.
Non so se si ricorda di me, di Altafini, di...
Sì, ciao.
Infatti è un peccato che lui arriva solo domani.
Ciao,
è proprio coinvolto con le cose della SN, quindi ho servito di portabandiera.
Ciao.
Okay. Grazie.
Tu c'è un cognome glorioso,
Sì, questo tutti dicono alla fine.
Chi c'è una certa età si ricorda Altafini.
Sì.
Lilli se lo ricordo, giocava nel Napoli, mi ricordo. Come stai, Lilli? Tutto bene?
Tutto bene, tu?
Bene, tra qualche settimana ci vediamo di persona. Dai.
Infatti, sì, con molto piacere, finalmente.
Guarda, stavo raccontando che nel lungomare dove andavo a correre a Cagliari, una volta mi hai trovato tutto sudato,
Sì,
che tornavo da correre.
invece di venire a cena stavi correndo.
Stavo tornando, era sudata tutto, che era caldo, che era input 2 anni fa, che era un caldo torrido. Mi ricordo, ero con Giuseppe Borruso a correre. Vabbè, io non sono potuto andare a caso di una storta alla caviglia, una distorsione alla caviglia, sto facendo tutta una terapia con della roba magnetica al piede, però dovrei finire il 24, quindi tranquilla per Napoli, non è problema, arrivo.
No, vabbè, che se vieni di persona è molto più
No, assolutamente, promesso.
No, vabbè, insomma, se
Promesso.
speriamo...
Ma mi fa piacere proprio. Cioè.
Ma come hai fatto a prendere questa storta? Hai preso una storta?
Ma io ho preso una storta già 3-4 anni fa, poi ne ho preso un'altra a maggio, che poi ci ho cominciato a correre sopra perché avevo fatto pure fisioterapia, ma dice no, è a posto. Continuavo ad avere fastidi, sono andato dall'ortopedico, mi ha fatto fare una risonanza magnetica e c'era un po' di roba sulla cartilagine e quindi mi devo fare. Sto facendo le iniezioni e poi mi hanno dato un macchinario di quelli, sai, quelli a valvole, ti ricordi quando c'era Berlino Est, Berlino Ovest, la Stasi, questa roba qua, tutto che mi devo mettere queste placche sul piede la notte, che mi dà pure fastidio quando dormo, però ho iniziato il 26 agosto, dovrei finire ora. Ma già va molto meglio, quindi per quando devo venire a Napoli non c'è problema.
Vabbè, ti aspettiamo.
Quindi figurati. Poi insomma devo venire, poi vengo in macchina, non vengo a piedi a Napoli.
Ma non vieni a correre, di corsa,
no, vabbè, se sto bene, pure una corsetta sul lungomare a Napoli, pure
e quello pure è bello, insomma.
Pure è bello, non è male. Come cosa. Va bene.
Ciao.
Lili. Ciao.
Ciao, buona serata.
Salve
a tutti.
Elena, hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Me too.
Now I have to chair a session on computer science. It's not easy for me because I'm not a computer science. It's a general track session.
And I share my
I hope that next year we can stay all together again.
I also hope we are tired of all this.
We finish everything, I hope. That this nightmare will finish in a short time, I hope, and we can stay again all together.
And we in Russia are expecting the 4th wave.
No, I hope so.
No, me too.
I don't want to listen to this.
Also.
Okay, I have to switch session because I have to share another session now. I have to. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
See you in these days, obviously. We will cross. Where is my session now?
Live streaming is on.
Anastasia? Now it's better. Now it's better.
Anastasia?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can hear you.
It's better now?
The presentation is good, yes.
Okay, perfect. So I can use this laptop for the presentation. No. If you have your presentation, it's okay. But if you need that I show the presentation, I can use my laptop. And you can give me when I have to go on, okay?
Faz parte do momento, termina agora, 1h30.
Aiota, aiota.
Chiara, I think it's better for the presenters to upload their presentation so they can handle it also better.
Okay.
And let's hope that it will be clear, okay?
Agora aquela problemática lá da urina preta, caso de peixe lá de Manaus. Eu já tinha dúvida, agora o Micael postou quais peixes que estão com esse problema.
Ok.
Nossa doença.
Peccato.
Bom, depois que a gente viu ontem, né? A badeja.
Ok.
Faz a gentileza aqui.
The microphone. Ok.
Está usando essa técnica também.
Ok. We can start the session now.
Exato.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second session of Sustainable Cities Island Communities. And I will introduce the first speaker.
Perfect.
Just 1 second, I don't have. Okay.
Please turn off the
microphone.
The microphone.
Please switch off the microphone. Okay. So the first speaker is Dionisia Cuzzi and Anastasia Stratigea with the paper Indulging the Mediterranean Maritime World, Driving Tourism in Insular Territories. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chiara. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. We
Okay.
don't see your presentation.
Yes, I'm sharing it right now.
Okay.
Can you see the presentation?
No.
Maybe not.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm facing some technical problems all day, so I hope there's nothing to interrupt during my presentation. So please let me know if you can see that I'm changing the slides.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, maybe there is just a delay. Thank you very much for the introduction. Today I will try to transfer you at the underwater part of the Mediterranean Sea and present you part of my PhD research in collaboration with Professor Anastasia Stratigea. Our research interest is focused on the Mediterranean region as an area having a strong connection with the sea, mild climate, relaxing atmosphere and warm Mediterranean spirit, cultural and natural wealth and hospitality, attributes highly acknowledged already nowadays by visitors. This has led to a prevailing mass and largely polarized tourist model, currently high vulnerable due to climate change. This cause and prompts call for immediate action towards a more sustainable, environmentally friendly, responsible, resilient, and all year-round tourism model. The answer to these needs and the special focus of this work is diving tourism as an activity falling into the maritime tourism alternative forms. It is an evolving niche market, counting more than 27 million certified divers between 1967 and 2018, falling at the same time to a more personalized, sophisticated, experience-based tourism form, a need that has already been expressed by both the demand and the supply side of the tourism sector. It is taking place mostly in sites with a natural and cultural wealth, and here is the underwater cultural heritage aspect that is a prevailing, let's say, feature of the Mediterranean underwater world, and the special focus of our research. And at the same time, it's an all-year-round activity with a significant potential. This potential, it's not yet fully exploited today, especially in the Mediterranean islands. But what is underwater cultural heritage? According to the definition, it includes shipwrecks and plane wrecks, mostly the ones that are related with historical facts and events like the World War I and II. Artifacts, structures and deposits buried or submerged originated from human activities on land. Artifacts, structures and deposits originated from inhabitation or use of coastal zones. Under this context, the goal of this presentation is to open the dialogue as to the hidden underwater natural and cultural wealth of the Mediterranean Sea and its diving potential towards alternative, sustainable and resilient developmental pathways as the pillar to exceed the limitations rendered by insularity and at the same time to serve local sustainable goals. Forming the ground for deploying diving tourism activity as a key driver for the sustainable exploitation of UCH and at the same time to serve local sustainable goals presupposes a healthy and wealthy marine environment. Towards this end, a set of policy directions are provided in international and European level, including sectoral policies for sketching tourism, cultural activity, as well as planning the activities in the maritime environment. A review of all of the policies that are presented in this slide has revealed that has led to the conclusion that while protection of the maritime nature and UCH sites and the potential of the sustainable exploitation as diving tourism spots is highlighted, no specific directions are provided at this level. In fact, maritime tourism in general and diving tourism in particular are supposed to be dealt in a relevant national, regional, or even transnational level, rendering planning exercises falling mainly into the marine spatial planning context. In order to understand better this potential, three famous diving sites are examined, including marine protected areas. And here we are mentioning the Italian example of the Medes marine protected area. And this, no, it's the opposite. It's the Spain example of the Medes Island protected areas and the Italian of the Portofino marine protected area in Genoa, which are both sites of national cultural significance. And let's say a more legislative example with control of annual dives and delineation of protected areas, as well as one of the most famous examples, the Malta Island one, having more than 80 plane and shipwrecks, attracting more than 182,000 divers annually. Moving forward to the Greek example, Greece is one of the most coastal and island countries in the world, as you can see at the numbers in the slide. At the same time, it hosts significant underwater cultural heritage sites, such as 2,000 wrecks, as an outcome of Ireland's strategic geopolitical position and its role and their role in the World War events. Although this underwater cultural heritage, both natural and cultural, is highly acknowledged, it is not fully exploited today. This is mainly due to the fact that for several years, diving activity was restricted by rendering accessibility of many potential diving sites totally prohibitive. In 2003, a ministerial decision characterized all shipwrecks as that are submerged for over 15 years as monuments, a fact that increased the inaccessibility of the sites. The situation steadily started to change after 2005 with the introduction of accessible underwater ecological parks, as well as a recent law in 2020 defining diving tourism one of the main special forms of tourism to be developed in Greece. Unfortunately, till today, because it's a very recent regulation, the results are not visible. Although accessible underwater ecological parks seem an important institution to ensure protection and sustainable exploitation of UCH sites, there are only 4 established till today in Greece, attracting the interest of many visitors. Here we name the Methone Bay in Sapienza Island, the Navarino Bay in Peloponnese, the Pavlopetri in Laconia, and the UAP at Alonissos at the North Sporades, which I think it's the most well-known today. At the same time, there are significant efforts by the Ministry of Culture to open 91 diving sites available for the public, an initiative that raises questions on the actual protection of, of all these sites, as there is a significant lack of the documentation of such a number of sites. The aforementioned issues ends up to the need for considering diving tourism a significant developmental planning exercise that should be grasped as an integrated approach. In the figure, the main planning and governance concern are drawn towards this end, revealing that planning diving tourism is not an easy task. In fact, it's a multi-sectoral issue, concern of tourism, culture, social, environmental policies. It's a multi-spatial issue, incorporating the marine, coastal, and land territory. It's a multi-stakeholder issue, as a matter of interest of professional academics, local communities, historians, local actors, etc. And at the same time, a multi-level issue, namely local, regional, national, European, or even transnational of international importance. To conclude, diving in UCH sites has attracted the significant interest from a demand and supply side, being a driver towards local sustainable development based on a healthy and wealthy marine environment. UCH nature, being part of a complex ecosystem, the coastal and marine one, sets protection complex and in many cases a local issue of a high concern. Speaking of the Mediterranean, insular territories are already recognized as globally attractive diving sites, rendering the potential towards a more environmentally and culturally responsible, high-class, all-year-round and experience-based tourism model. The examples examined show a significant effort towards sustainable exploitation, at the same time the protection, management, and control of the existing natural and cultural reserves. This is not so common in the case of Greece, which, although endowed with various and important natural and cultural submerged sites, the lack of national maritime spatial policy set UCH at risk. All the above sum up to the conclusion that planning UCH for developmental purposes can be a weak planning problem, especially for planners who come up with various challenges of an unmapped and unknown environment with unique characteristics and complex dimensions. Thank you very much for your attention, and I remain open for any further questions.
Thank you so much, Dionisa, for your presentation. There are any questions? In the platform,
yeah.
there are. Yes.
Can I pose a question, please?
Yes.
Okay. So I would like to ask about this very interesting topic.
Could you please introduce yourself? Could you please introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Apostolos Lagarias from the National Technical University of Athens. I would like to ask Dionisia if she's aware of a recent example, maybe a case study in Greece, that this kind of approach creating a dive park, for example, is able to transform the economic, social, and environmental dimensions of an island, for example, a local community. So if there is a good example or a bad one, I don't know.
Thank you very much for your question. I think the most successful example right now is the one of the Alonsos Bay, where we can see a very dedicated effort that counts over 8 years from research centers and also the Ministry of Culture. This year they had the official opening. And I was in a conference with the representative of the park, and they said that this year they saw a lot of people coming only to visit the park, and they saw even in the earlier after Easter some visitors that in Alonso's Island it's not very common. So it's a very recent initiative, but we can see that already the tourism profile is start to change. So this is a positive insight, and I think in some years from now we are going to see more promising results.
Yeah. Do you know, are they diving too in Alonso's? Or
yeah,
is it?
Yes.
There's a diving center. Okay, I heard. I'm not sure if the information is right, that they are trying to create something in very distant from mainland Greece island. It's called Leros. I'm describing this for the other participants. So Leros is not really affected by tourism more at this stage. So maybe this kind of initiative could change the whole profile of such a really small and distant island. I don't know if you have an opinion or if you know anything about this case.
Yes, I did my master thesis for Leros. It was the initial stage of my PhD, so I have a significant knowledge, let's say, on the island and its potential. They have 14 shipwrecks that can be used for this purpose. And I think it's the most exciting thing is that we did a kind of participatory planning there. And the local communities are ready. They organized even a conference dedicated to special forms of tourism, and they included diving tourism in all the set of different kinds of tourism that they want to develop. And so they have the potential, they are willing to do it, and even with the 91 shipwreck sites that opened, and there are included some of Leros Island, I think it's something very significant there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a consideration. Thank you for your really interesting presentation. I think that it's really interesting, but also really difficult to find, for instance, a specific database for all cultural heritage that are in the water. Also because I don't know in Greece, but in Italy, also the regional database for the local cultural heritage sometimes has some mistakes. I can imagine for the cultural heritage that is in the water. So just a consideration. And also, I think that diving tourism it's really difficult, but maybe it's a suggestion, but I don't know, because I'm thinking about Sardinian case study. There are some places in which there are also different international law, because, for instance, in the north of Sardinia, we are really close with Corsica, and in diving in the water, it's difficult to find the if you understand my considerations.
Yes, thank you very much. Especially for the data part, it's something that concerns us a lot. It's one of the main pillars of my PhD, because finding data, analyzing data, and also planning according to this data is of a high concern, because data about UCH, it's not documented, and even in most of the cases are not published. We have reached a lot of databases around the world, and only, if I remember correctly, 35 of them give the actual position of the shipwrecks. So the data availability is very low, and it's not, it's not something that you can actually do a case study and a field study and easily gain the information. So.
Okay, thank you so much, and congratulations for your work.
Thank you very much.
So we can go to the next speaker, Professor Apostolos Lagarias and Anastasia Strategea, and they will present a resolution spatial data analysis for monitoring urban sprawl in coastal zones, a case study in Crete Island. So, Professor Lagarias, the floor is yours.
Hi to everyone. Actually, I'm a postdoctoral researcher, and yeah, and after this dive beneath the surface of the sea, I'm going to take you back to the ground level. We're going to speak about urban sprawl and coastalization in the Mediterranean. So I'm going to share my screen now. Wait a bit. Please tell me if you can see my presentation. Can you see it here?
Yes.
I'm gonna go full screen. It's okay?
Yeah.
Is it okay? Okay. The title of this presentation is High Resolution Spatial Data Analysis for Monitoring Urban Sprawl in Coastal Zones. And the case study that we'll present it is Crete Island. Well, coastal zones lie at the interface between mainland and the sea, and this makes them very interesting and at the same time a critical field for urban and regional analysis. These are areas that are heavily affected by urban development, and they are particularly vulnerable to environmental degradation, not to mention climate change, coastal erosion, and other important issues. So it is our belief that monitoring and regulating land use changes in these zones becomes more and more critical through time. As special conflicts occur in these areas, and it's not at all easy to handle them. So when we speak about the Mediterranean case, we could say that the special fact of the Mediterranean coastal areas is that at the same time they are heavily affected by mass tourism development patterns. So these are two keywords that lie at the core of this research. The first one is coastalization, and the second one is urban sprawl. And it is our opinion, and is also drawn by our conclusions, that these go together in many Mediterranean coastal areas. So what is coastalization? It can be defined as an intense linear urban development for an intense linear form of urban development taking place along coastal zones. We speak about urban development, we speak about transport infrastructure in these areas, and also we speak about cities that are created by and for tourism. At the other side of the coin is urban sprawl. Urban sprawl is related to a large-scale artificial land expansion, accelerate dispersion of low-density built-up areas. It is characterized as an unplanned and poorly regulated urban development model. So these two processes, coastalization and urban sprawl, are really dynamic in the Mediterranean case, and they pose extreme pressure on the vulnerable Mediterranean ecosystem. These are characteristic screenshots of urban development along the Adriatic coast in Italy, here, and the Costa del Sol in southern Spain. So what I will be presenting today is part of an ongoing postdoctoral research that puts forward the aim to analyze, compare, and monitor coastal urban sprawl in the Mediterranean. And the viewpoint of this research is to use to apply geospatial methods, taking advantage of high-resolution spatial data to evaluate what is going on in these areas and analyze built-up patterns in order to characterize the degree of urban sprawl. And the focus of this research is on an island territory, and this is because Mediterranean island territories are considered as distinct cases of fragile and vulnerable ecosystems. Usually they are heavily affected by urbanization and tourism, and they have a confined space and usually limited carrying capacity. So it's really crucial to analyze.
I'm sorry, but sometimes now it's not possible to see your presentation. I don't know what's happened, but could you please try to share your screen again? Because
okay, wait.
I'm sorry for having interrupted you.
Now, maybe?
Okay, no, okay, perfect.
Chiara,
Is it fine?
I see the presentation, Chiara.
Oh, so it's our problem. I'm sorry.
The other ones, please, can you confirm that?
Okay. So go on, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through the case study later, which is the Crete Island. But first, these are characteristic comparative aerophotos and satellite pictures showing what is happening in the northern coast of Crete. You can see how mainly agricultural natural area is being transformed tourism development sprawl areas. So I'm going to go through the methodological issues handled in this research. First, by noticing that, in my opinion, there is a big, up to now, there was a big data problem. So what was the problem? The problem is that we didn't have high resolution data. So in order to analyze urban sprawl, most existing comparative studies were based on the only available land use data that were Corinne land cover data covering the 1990-2018 period. But the problem is that although these data are valuable in the exploration of land cover changes in agricultural and natural areas, in my opinion, they are inappropriate for the analysis of urban sprawl, as they miss out low-density scattered development. You can see, for example, if you look at this map, we have the Corinne land use zones with the colors, and we have overlaid the high-resolution global human settlement layer data, showing that almost all built up scattered low density development, which is the black dots here, does not appear in the Corinne data. So results can be confusing and in many cases misleading. So what we do is take the global human settlement layer, first using the multi-temporal data at 30 meters resolution, covering the period of the past about 40 years. And then we use the high resolution, the most recent data for the period 2017-18 at 10 meters resolution. And we use this to analyze the structural and morphological attributes of urban sprawl patterns. So I'm going to go quick to be on time. This is the workflow, the methodological workflow. Here you can see how we combine this high resolution data. And I would like to notice this box that we use an approach based on special metrics at the local level to quantify the characteristics of the built-up patterns. The target, the final target is to identify coastalization typologies and characterize urban sprawl and evaluate what is going on in the case study area. So really fast, this is the wide set of special metrics that we have used. Identifying characteristics of density, size aggregation, geometry, dispersion, connectivity of the built-up areas. And the analysis is at the local level. So we created a 1-by-1 kilometer grid. You can see here in the map the local level of the analysis. And this grid is scanning the whole coast, analyzing and estimating a large set of metrics. I'm going to go to the case study. So this grid, you can see a 3D view of from the northern coast. It is an island with important natural and archaeological and cultural sites. So about 45% of the island is covered by Natura 2000 areas. You can see the green areas here. Many of them are really close to the coast. And what is happening since the 80s, it's that large-scale tourism investments have been made mainly along the northern coast based on international tourism model and rapidly changing Crete towards a tourism-dependent economy. So we have, for example, about 2,000 hotels and 18,000 registered Airbnb rooms and apartments and houses during the past years. So what we did is to estimate how this density gradient fades from the coast. This is the coast, and then we move towards the hinterland and analyze the density of built-up areas. So identify which is the crucial coastal zone 5 kilometers from the coastline. And these are the results. So here we can see, yeah, thank you. These are the linear case study area we chose, the 5 kilometers from the northern coast, which is mostly affected by tourism. So here we see the results in terms of various special metrics. And then we combine these results, we combine this metric using a PCA, principal component analysis, to reduce the number of metrics estimated into 3 basic factors. First, showing coverance and aggregation of built-up areas. The second, accounting for paths and density. And the third, quantifying connectivity and dispersion. So after having done all this analysis, all this process, we are able to identify in the case study area 6 main clusters, typologies of sprawl and built-up areas. You can see here with the black and white how does these typologies look like, and then we have mapped these typologies across the northern coast of Crete. So I'm going to go really quick. Point your attention to cluster 3, which is the the magenta color. So if you see the magenta areas, these are the areas that are mostly affected by urban sprawl, as revealed by the quantitative analysis we made on the patterns of development. And cluster 2 typologies, which are the blue, are classified as transitional areas with low density scattered development, while the other typologies include areas that are densely built up, urban areas, and areas that are not yet affected by the urbanization and tourism development process. So I'm going to go through the major findings of this research. We see that the case study area is heavily affected by urban sprawl, and 25% of the northern coast is classified as intense urban sprawl, and in my opinion, immediate action should be taken in these areas. There is another 62% of land that is classified as transitional areas, and that they're going to work in the future as the buffer zones of development. So we need to handle this issue too. I would conclude by saying that monitoring coastal urban sprawl is really important, as it could provide the ground for better informing decision making processes towards sustainable development. This methodology we created could be extended in the future to other areas in the Mediterranean, and help to create a comparative framework for understanding and evaluating current changes. So these two pictures here are the last thing I'm going to talk about. In my opinion, they represent two different possible futures for Crete. Actually, the one that is on the left is from Spain. It's the so-called Spanish model of tourism development. Large-scale infrastructure, high-rise buildings, intense mass tourism development, even in areas that are really that are protected and characterized as important natural and environmental sites. And the other option we have, go towards an alternative future with a sustainable tourism model, which is resilient and preserving the empty space, preserving agricultural and natural areas. So thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to follow up.
Thank you so much, Apostolos Lagarias. Maybe the next question we will do at the end of the session, because we have just an hour. So I will introduce the next speaker, James Romby, and he is here in presence, and he will speak about circular economy, but under another point of view about materials. Correct? Okay. The floor is yours, James.
Thank you very much.
Maybe with this, because the presentation and this is for your face.
Okay. So I'm watching here.
Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is James Romby from the University of Cagliari. The title of this presentation is Application of Anadros calcium sulfate in cement-bound granular pavement layers towards a circular economy approach. Okay. So, okay. The following slides are going to cover some issues of this research. There will be a short introduction in which I will talk about pavement layers, cement, alternative materials, and circular economy. Then I will talk about the aims of the research, the case study, the tests conducted and results, and finally conclusions. Cement is widely used in civil engineering. In 2019, The annual production has been of 4.2 billion tons, producing 1.4 billion tons of CO2 per year. That is about 8% of the total CO2 emitted in the atmosphere. Half of this CO2 derived from the using of fossil fuels that heat the kilns, and the other half is produced through the calcination of limestone. Cement is used for many applications, for example, in road pavement layers as a binder in cemented treatise layers. In this research, we analyzed the cement-bound granular materials that are located between the asphalt base layer and the granular subbase. Cement-bound granular materials contain usually 5% of cement mixed with granular aggregates and water. In road construction industry, there are many materials, alternative materials that are used in order to promote a circular economy approach. So that is based on reused materials, minimizing waste. Some examples are like construction demolition waste that is used in an alternative to natural aggregates, or maybe using rubber from tires, plastic, glass, or different types of byproducts like fly ash. In this research, we analyzed the potential applications of anhydrous calcium sulfate that derive from a byproduct from an industrial process. The aims of this research are to verify the potential applications of anhydrous calcium sulfate in road construction sector by partially replacing cement in the bound layers, and we're obtaining a mix with the highest percentage of ACS introduced in the mix, maintaining good mechanical and physical performances. Also, verify if the mix is designed to be replicated in industrial plants in order to produce small-scale production. The mild anhydrous calcium sulfate used in this research derives from the Foresight that is located here in Sardinia. It produces this byproduct and derives from the process to obtain aluminium fluoride and chloride that is used in the aluminium industry. The average annual production of this plant is of 240,000 tons per year. Here we can see the industrial process from which this material derives and the chemical composition. Just some information. As we can see, pozzolanic and Portland cement temperatures of calcinations are high, are about 1,400 Celsius, while the calcination of anhydrous calcium sulfate is half of that temperature. Furthermore, obtain this lower temperature, also using less fuels, it is important to verify the potential applications of these materials. If no applications are found, these materials become a waste and must be disposed in landfills. The case study was divided into phases. In the first phase, laboratory tests were conducted to verify physical and mechanical behavior. Then, once the best mix design was obtained, a trial road embankment was constructed and verified his behavior in real working conditions. The material used in this research are cement, water, granular aggregates, and mild anhydrous calcium sulfate in order to obtain a mix. The first laboratory tests that were conducted were the chemical composition of this material and the particle size distribution. This material is 90% pure of anhydrous calcium sulfate. This is because deriving from an industrial process, the composition is always homogeneous when there is a production plant in progress. Also, particle size distribution of this material, and then the particle size distribution of the granular aggregates used to prepare the mix. Laboratory tests were conducted in order to prepare the mix. So 4 mixes were prepared, plus, for comparison, a reference mix containing only cement, in order to verify how this material behaved in comparison to a normal mix. In table are reported the mix notation with percentage by weight of Portland cement, as we can see in the reference mix, Portland cement 3%, ACS 0%, and so on, with different mixes with different percentages. The one with PC 1%, AC 4%, which is the one with lowest percentage of cement introduced in the mix. Other tests that were conducted was the modified Proctor test to verify the optimum water content for each of the mix, and here are some samples that were tested. These samples are cylindrical specimens, diameter 150 millimeters by 200 millimeters high. These were cast, cured, and tested at 7 days. The tests that were conducted at 7 days were unconfined compressive strength, as we can see here in this chart, upper and lower limits, and all the mixes were inside, and also indirect tensile strength. And only in one case we had that this was in accordance to specifications. Here we see which mix design was chosen in order to verify then the mechanical behavior in real working conditions. This was chosen because it had the lowest cement amount and the highest quantity of ACS. In this slide, we can see the trial embankment project. It is 90 meters long, 6 meters wide, and divided in 2 sections. One section was called innovative because it had ACS inside the mix, and the other one was traditional, that was incorporating only cement. Here we can see in this cross section the thickness of each layer. So we had the native soil, granular subbase 20 centimeters, innovative 20 centimeters, base layer 10 centimeters, and binder 7 centimeters. Okay. Here we can see the pilot project phase of construction, the subgrade native soil, then the granular subbase that has been laid, then the innovative cement-bound granular layer, and on top of that, the asphalt-based layer. We must say that on each of the constructed layers, bearing capacity was measured. That was very important to understand how this type of material behaves in real working conditions. It was measured using the fast falling rate deflectometer that is used in pavement road testing to verify the elastic modules of the pavements of each of the layers that form the road. Here we can see once the road was completely finished, here we can see the road with these green lines is the innovative road that was called RIUSA, road infrastructure using synthetic anhydride. Then we have this between the cross wall, the other traditional cement material using in the road. In conclusion, we can say that the use of ACS combined with Portland cement can provide adequate values of unconfined compressive strength, reducing the amount of cement in the mix. Also, this is confirmed by the other mechanical test, the indirect tensile test. It gave excellent properties of mixes. During the construction of the pilot embankment, we had some issues that must be considered when laying this type of material. Optimum water content in the mix must be strictly respected, and the laying and compacting procedure must be done in a short period of time. The falling weight campaign showed good bearing capacity of the innovative CBM layer. And also, this material will be monitored periodically to evaluate any loss of bearing capacity. We must say that this road, now it's open to heavy traffic, and all the traffic that it goes through this road is automated, is weighed, and also we know exactly what type of vehicle is going through the road. So we know over time how much vehicles have been through that road, and also the capacity that the road has been through. And finally, we can say that the use of ACS could be a valid alternative to reduce the amount of Portland cement in the mixes, reducing not so only CO2 emissions, but leading towards a circular economy strategy. Many thanks for the attention.
Thank you so much, James, for your presentation. Do you have any question? Really quickly. So we can go on to the next speaker. Okay. Thank you so much, James. The last but not the least, Jota, Teodora, and Anastasia Strategea. Jota?
Hello. Wow. Cara.
I can't
give me a minute to find my presentation.
Oh, sorry.
I'm ready. Just a minute.
She will present us climate change and strategic adaptation planning in Mediterranean insular territories, gathering methodological insights from Greek experiences. So, Jota, the floor is yours.
Okay, Chiara, thank you so much. Can you see our presentation?
Yes, of course.
Excellent. I can't believe it. Okay. You do remember last year. Okay. So
we had some problems. So
excellent. So our research concerns the multidisciplinary field in the climate change strategic adaptation planning. And we will all agree that in the third millennium, climate change constitutes a defining challenge for society as a whole, rating at the top of the global policy agenda. It is strongly associated with vulnerability of various types of regions and their capacity to cope with CCA impacts. And insular territories in this respect seem to be cruelly affected in the years to come. So this holds especially true for Mediterranean insular territories, since Mediterranean constitutes a CC hotspot in the global scenery. The focus of our work is to highlight the contribution of contemporary planning approaches in support of proactive strategic planning for setting up CC adaptation plans, and actually critical comment on methodological aspects for CC adaptation and related deficits in case of two distinct Greek insular territories, regions of Ionian and Northern Aegean islands, in order for more robust approaches to emerge to the benefit of addressing CC vulnerabilities in such really fragile territorial systems. In this context, the approach of the objective has been based on two levels of investigation. Level A elaborates on planning consideration relevant to CC adaptation, while level B is dedicated to Greece, and it's implemented in two main stages. The first stage aims at shortly presenting CC adaptation strategy of Greece at the national and regional level, while the second stage gathers insight and critically comments methodological deficits of regional adaptation action plans carried out in the two insular case studies, study regions. And finally, some key conclusions are drawn in a way as to reopen the relevant discussion. Before we present the Greek climate change adaptation policy, let's take a quick look at the four main pillars, which according to authors should structure the framework of the CC adaptation planning process. These are governance, foresight, strategic planning, and public participation. Governance is currently largely acknowledged as a means for undertaking collective action and effectively tackling involving territories, challenges, and risks as well. Foresight is grasped as a forward-looking approach capable of exploring.
Jota, I'm sorry.
Yes?
I'm sorry, but
I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can hear you now.
Because, there is always the first slide.
I can see the second one. Why is that? I can see the second slide, the third slide in my screen. Why you cannot see it?
To put in the presentation mode.
What I have to do now, just to stop sharing my presentation? I don't know. Just.
Can you listen to
I'm on my third slide now, and I'm presenting the methodological consideration. Can you hear
the presentation in our screen? We can see
let me try again. Let me try it again. Just a minute.
Okay.
Can you see that? Can you see the slides now?
No. Now anything.
I can't believe it. Why is that? Just
there is always the plan
I can't believe it. I cannot. I don't know what is happening.
It's the bottom. It's the third.
Now,
I can hear something else in Greek. I don't know why.
Now we are in the third one, the third slide, Jota.
Just a minute, Anastasia.
Okay, perfect. Now it's in the third.
It's in the third.
This is the third. Okay, the methodological consideration about governance and foresight.
Yeah.
Is it okay now? So I will continue from these slides.
I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter, Chiara. It doesn't matter. Foresight is grasped as a forward-looking approach capable of exploring alternative future images, and thus it's a valuable tool in assessing CC evolution. Strategic planning, on the other hand, falls into planners' arsenal as a vision-driven, stepwise approach, viewing planning as a dynamic process of strategic choice. And finally, public participation is actually perceived as an umbrella term, as it encloses various types of interaction forms among relevant actors, such planners, decision makers, people, stakeholders, or academia, and also serves a variety of goals. Can you hear the next? Can you see the next slides now, Chiara? I hope you do. Under the current severe climate change circumstances, Greece is yet lacking a climate law.
It's always on the third slide.
So there is something in the system. I don't know why, because I can see the right slide. Maybe we have to wait for a while.
Yes, if you want, I change the slide and I screen my.
I think that's better.
Yeah. Okay.
Why is that, Anastasia? I can see the.
Move your share, Jota.
You will do it for me again?
Yeah.
I can't stand it. Okay. I stop sharing my screen.
Okay.
Just move to slides 4.
Okay.
I can't believe it.
Okay.
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent, Chiara. So under this severe climate change, Greece is yet lacking a climate law, while has already set up a CC national adaptation strategy, hereafter NAS. This has fueled the currently in progress regional adaptation action plans, hereafter RAPs, at the regional level, namely NATS 2 level, for implementing the national strategy. Questions raised in such a context are how this national strategy can, as part of the global and European policy decision context, function actually taking into account the environmental, spatial, and sectoral planning system peculiarities and allow flexibility so that general guidelines can be effectively adapted to local specificities and needs at lower spatial level. In this slide, we can see the main sector addressed by NAS and related regional plans in Greece. So we have to move to the next one. In line with this view, the Greek NAS predicts detailed CC adaptation plans and articulation of respective policy measure at the regional level by means of respective regional plans. And the main step of the methodological approach adapted for RAPs are depicted in this slide. So starting from the decision environment, we move forward to the existing situation to assess vulnerabilities per sector and spatial entity and evaluate CC impacts. The next step is where we want to go, and the focus at this step is on structuring the appropriate policy measures, ensuring the necessary synergies with other spatial plans, and establishing an efficient monitoring system to evaluate the process and, of course, its results and deficits. Can we move to the next one? Okay, the regions of Ionian and Northern Aegean Islands are insular territories of critical importance. This holds true due to the geographical, geopolitical, and spatial and socio-economic attributes, climatic specificities, regional inequalities, quality of infrastructure and natural resource scarcity, limited size and scope of local economies, extended coastlines and spread in a number of islands, and habitation aspects of their islands. Of critical importance also their vulnerability due to their insular nature and CC risk associated with coastal compartments. Dear Chiara, the next one, please. Deep insight into RAPs of the study insular regions unveils a range of weaknesses that are summarized as follows. Firstly, generality of targets. This is a serious omission confining RAPs value in practice. Secondly, RAPs work is based on often outdated data, thus assessment of current state developments and updates as part of RAPs, is questioned. Thirdly, generality of proposed measures and actions, and other weaknesses of equal importance are loose or non-existent interconnection between RAPs and other spatial plans, limited orientation to social infrastructure, especially in education and health sectors, insufficient consideration of the spatial dimension, thus coastal areas and built environment are to large extent underestimated. And finally, another weakness is the emphasis which is given on the administrative structure regardless of climatic areas or spatio-functional specificities in order to define the geographical areas of reference. Chiara, I need the next one. Thank you. Additionally to the aforementioned weaknesses, the following concerns are noticed as well. First of all, RAP study in this work hardly reflect the planner's rationale in the sense of technical linkages among different stages, more spatial and developmental focus and use of substantial participation scheme, all reflecting the lack of planning expertise in the synthesis of the respective RAPs working groups. Governance in building up the study RAPs is loose, lacking vertical and horizontal interaction among all types of societal players. The value of public awareness raising and engagement throughout the process of RAPs has not been relevant attention. And last but not least, a strategic view of a study region and a future vision to be reached is missing. So there is no doubt that irrational use of natural resources through decades has changed the world's climate, making tomorrow's climate a huge today's challenge. Governments are currently deeply engaged in delivering national and regional adaptation plan in a systemic way. Insights into RAP study in this work, according to authors, seems to be much more than before, though less than needed in such highly threatened Mediterranean insular complex. So future research should focus on more robust CC adaptation approaches, especially in fragile insular territories. I don't know what I have to say, Chiara. Maybe next time, next year, we will try to find the right way to do it.
Maybe luckier.
I don't know. I don't know.
No, maybe the next
Chiara, you are the key person. I don't have words, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe the next year we will go together. Okay, we will go together.
I hope so. I hope so.
Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you so much, Iota. Thank you so much to all the speakers. I'm really sorry, but we have to close now because there is also the welcome party, and there is no time for the questions. But I and Anastasia wanted to also to speak about this topic also in the future. And if you want also to have any consideration at the end of the conference, I will give you, I will send an email to all participants. I'm sorry, but I'm up and down with. And could be an occasion to speak each other and also to organize something, or also to think about island in an interdisciplinary way. So thank you so much to all of you. Thank you so much to Anastasia and to Jota.
Have a nice time. We are jealous. You have a nice time. We continue to work, but you are going to the party. So
thank you so much.
I hope next time we'll be face to face. Okay, bye-bye.
Wait for us. We will be there in a few minutes. Bye-bye, Cara.
Bye. See you next tomorrow with other sessions and other speakers and with the conference.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye. Bye. Abbiga to all of you. Bye.
Okay.